These ancient cobblestones were laid by the Romans in 312 BC. This is the Via Appia, the queen of the Roman roads. In fact, you can still see the grooves worn in the rocks by the Roman chariots. No doubt Peter himself walked down this very road on his way into Rome. Today the streets are lined with beautiful trees, but 100 years before the time of Peter, this street was lined with crosses, as 6,000 of Spartacus's troops were crucified as a warning to anyone who would defy Roman power. Peter was no doubt terrified, for in the Gospel of John it's recorded that Jesus had already predicted that Peter himself would be crucified. Let's follow the Via Appia all the way into Rome. Peter's journey from Israel to Rome covered a distance of roughly 2,000 miles over land and sea. Depending on the wind and weather, his journey could have lasted as long as a month. And despite the expression, all roads lead to Rome, it's likely that Peter entered the Eternal City on the Via Appia, Rome's main link with its expanding empire in the east. The Via Appia led all the way to the center of ancient Rome, but we have to travel a bit further across the Tiber River. St. Peter certainly crossed this Tiber River many times. In around the year 200, Tertullian compares the baptisms of Peter here in the Tiber with the baptisms of John the Baptist in the Jordan River. In 1994, my family and I crossed the Tiber River, which symbolically means that we converted to the Catholic Church. Our destination is straight ahead, St. Peter's Basilica. We have finally reached our destination. Behind me is the Basilica of St. Peter, and we're standing here in the middle of St. Peter's Square. We've just come up Conciliation Boulevard, reconciliation with God, and the colonnade, the great arms of the church, reach out to embrace us as we come into the square. We have the fountains here, which are like the laver in the temple, used for cleansing and to remind us of the need for baptism. And the obelisk, which is a witness to all of salvation history. In fact, Peter himself was crucified in its very shadow. The evidences are all around us. Ahead of us a bit more are St. Peter and St. Paul, huge statues. St. Peter with the keys to welcome us as we come into the church. And on the top of the facade of the church is Jesus and John the Baptist and the apostles. They're here to greet us as we come to the monument to the death of St. Peter, and as we enter into the house of the Lord. Here we are inside the Basilica of St. Peter's in Rome. This is one of two beautiful holy water fonts with the angels. Let's take a look around the church. This is the bronze statue of St. Peter, made as early as the 6th century. Millions and millions of pilgrims come here to touch his feet and pray at the entrance of the nave of the church, so much so that you can see his toes are worn down. Notice also he's holding the keys, and he's giving the pilgrims a sign of peace as they come and go in their travels. Part of the Basilica of St. Peter's was built over the Circus of Nero. And this happens to be the exact geographical location where Peter was crucified with his head down. Of course, course, Michelangelo's breathtaking dome is the famous external focal point of the church, and it certainly draws the eyes heavenward. But it also draws the heart toward Peter. If you drop the plumb line straight down from the top of the dome, do you realize that the end would point right to the place where the bones of St. Peter were laid to rest? Right beneath the main altar. In the 4th century, Emperor Constantine knew where Peter was buried and literally moved a mountain, Vatican Hill, so that he could build the first large church over Peter's grave. Yet despite all the evidence, there are still those who refuse to believe that Peter was ever in Rome. But the historical evidence for Peter's presence in Rome is so overwhelming, the skeptics simply have no case at all. As we've seen, this basilica is more than just a church. It's a monument to St. Peter, a living memorial to the man who was handpicked by Jesus to be the shepherd of his flock. Peter was in Rome. He was the first bishop of Rome. And the chair of St. Peter and his successors is still in Rome today.